Today's class is a vinyasa flow class, and this is one of my favourite styles of yoga. It's really fun and energetic, and you start to build up a sequence of yoga postures which can help when you're learning the different moves that you do in yoga. So hopefully you enjoy, and thank you for watching.
We're beginning in a comfortable seated position, the back straight, the legs across. Just take a breath here. And then we're taking the left hand over to the right knee and we're just twisting to look behind us. Coming back to center, the right hand to the left knee and taking that twist. Back to center. From here we're going to take the right foot in the right hand and just straighten out that leg. The left hand is at the waist, and then we're bringing the leg out to the side and we're looking over the left shoulder. Bringing that leg down, and now we're going to repeat for the other side, taking hold of the left foot, straightening that leg out the best we can, and then taking it over to the side and looking over your right shoulder. Back to center. And now we're coming over into tabletop, and we're just going to do a few cat-cows. So we're inhaling, looking straight ahead, tilting the pelvis, exhaling, curving the back, looking down, following the breath. Back to tabletop. From here we're tucking under the toes and we're just lifting into downward facing dog. So we're lifting the hips and we're just going to walk out the feet, warming up the hamstrings. We're going to do some lifts, taking the heels off the mat and back down onto it. Inhaling, lifting the right leg, and we're just going to bend the leg and just move it in circles, opening up the hip. Make sure to go in both directions. We're just moving very freely at this point, trying to warm up the body. Taking the right foot down, lifting the left leg, and repeating the same thing again, bending that leg, moving it in circles. Taking that foot down, back into downward dog, continuing to warm up the legs, and then we're just going to do some rolls between downward dog and plank. So from downward dog, we're just curving the back as we move into plank, and then back to downward dog. So now we're going to come into a vinyasa, since this is a vinyasa flow class. So I want you to bring yourself into plank with the shoulders over wrists, stomach muscles engaged, and then we're going to go for a chaturanga. So you're going to lower yourself down, keeping the elbows in tight to the body. Inhaling, we're coming into upward facing dog with the pelvis off the mat. Exhaling back into downward facing dog. The heels are pressing down into the mat, looking towards your navel. And we're just going to start stepping the feet towards the hands, bending the knees here, taking hold of opposite elbows, taking a breath, and then slowly rolling the body up all the way to standing. And then I'd like you to join me at the front of your mat for our sun salutes. You want to bring the big toes together, the ankles slightly apart, legs engaged, stomach muscles drawn in, shoulders away from ears, and the crown of the head shooting upwards. Inhaling, we're bringing the arms up overhead, looking towards the fingers. Exhaling, drawing in the stomach muscles, folding forward. Inhaling, looking straight ahead with a flat back. Planting the hands, stepping to plank, and then we're going for another chaturanga with the elbows in tight to the body. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. The fingers spread out on the mat. Heels reaching down towards the mat. If you need to bend the knees a tiny bit, go ahead. The idea is eventually to have the backs of the legs straight and the heels pressing down. Shoulders away from ears. Drawing in those stomach muscles to help flatten out the back. Inhaling, coming up on the toes, looking between the hands, bringing the feet to the front, exhaling, folding forward, inhaling, coming all the way up, and exhaling, hands to heart center. Take a breath. Then we'll go again. Inhaling, bring the arms up. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, taking a halfway lift, looking straight ahead. Planting the hands, stepping back to plank. Exhaling, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Breathing here, trying to keep the breath nice and steady. Inhaling, coming up on the toes, looking between the hands. Coming forward, halfway lift. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, coming all the way up. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Take a breath. Last time. Inhaling, arms come up. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, halfway lift. Planting the hands, stepping or jumping back to plank. Lowering ourselves down in chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Breathing here. Really lifting your hips to create that nice triangle shape of the downward facing dog. Inhaling, coming up on the toes, looking between the hands, stepping or jumping for a halfway lift. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, coming all the way up. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Take another breath. So now it's time for our standing vinyasa flow sequence. And we're going to start with Surya Namaskar B, which is the second Ashtanga Sun Salute. And from there, we're going to build our sequence, repeating 4 times, adding some extra postures every time we do it. If you feel tired at any point, feel free to take a rest in child's pose, and hopefully you enjoy it. Starting at the front of the mat, we're inhaling into chair pose. Exhaling, we're folding forward. Inhaling, taking a halfway lift, looking straight ahead, planting the hands, stepping or jumping to plank and chaturanga. Inhaling, upward dog. Exhaling, downward dog. From here, we're turning the left foot to 45 degrees, bringing the right foot forward. Inhaling up into warrior 1. Exhaling, bringing the hands down, back to plank, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward dog. Exhaling, downward dog. Bringing the left leg forward, back foot to 45 degrees. Inhaling, warrior 1 on the left side. Exhaling, hands come down, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward dog. Exhaling, downward dog. Take a couple of breaths here. It's pretty fast paced, so don't worry if it takes a while to keep up with it. Once you get used to the sequence, it's much easier. Coming up on the toes on the inhale, stepping or jumping to the front of the mat, taking a halfway lift, exhaling, folding forward, inhaling back to chair pose, and exhaling to standing. Take a breath. Inhaling into chair. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, halfway lift, planting the hands, stepping or jumping to plank, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Turning the left foot to 45 degrees, bringing the right foot forward. Inhaling, warrior 1. Looking towards your hands, you want the hips facing the front. Shoulders away from ears. From here, we're going to straighten that right leg, and we're going to bring the stomach down onto the thigh and the hands down onto the mat. If you can't reach the mat, then you can just rest them lightly on the calf. Looking towards your big toe. From here, stepping back to plank, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Now for the other side. The left leg comes forward with the knee bent. Inhaling into warrior 1. Hips facing the front. Back foot at 45 degrees. Legs engaged. Straightening that left leg, bringing the stomach over the left thigh and the hands down, relaxing the head, relaxing the shoulders, but keeping the stomach muscles engaged. Stepping back to plank, chaturanga, inhaling upward facing dog, exhaling downward facing dog. And this transition between plank, chaturanga, upward facing dog and downward facing dog is what we know as a vinyasa. So coming up on the toes, looking between the hands, stepping or jumping for a halfway lift, folding forward, inhaling to chair, exhaling to standing. Take a breath. Inhaling back into chair pose, exhaling, folding forward, inhaling, halfway lift, exhaling, plant the hands, step or jump, chaturanga, inhaling, upward facing dog, exhaling, downward facing dog. Turning the left foot to 45 degrees, bringing the right leg forward, inhaling into warrior 1, hips facing the front. Straightening that right leg, bringing your stomach over the thigh, and then lowering the hands down onto the mat, relaxing the head. bending the right leg, keeping the right hand on the outside of the right foot, and lifting the left hand up towards the ceiling, opening out the chest, looking towards the left hand. Straightening the right leg. Now we're bringing the right hand to the inside of the right foot, so we're now in triangle pose. And if you can't reach, you can just keep your hand on the leg. Stepping back to plank, chaturanga, inhaling upward facing dog, exhaling downward facing dog. Now for the other side, bring the left leg forward, back foot to 45 degrees, inhaling warrior one. Straightening the leg, bringing the stomach over the thigh and hands down on the mat, relaxing the head. Bending the left leg, keeping the left hand where it is, lifting the right hand, looking up towards the right hand. Straightening the left leg, bringing the left hand to the inside of the left foot, so we're on triangle pose. Both hands come down, stepping to plank, chaturanga, inhaling upward facing dog, exhaling downward facing dog. Take a breath. Coming up on the toes, looking between the hands, stepping or jumping for a halfway lift. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, chair pose. Exhaling to standing. And take another breath. Inhaling to chair. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, halfway lift. Planting the hands, stepping or jumping to plank, chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. But left foot 45 degrees, right foot forward, inhaling warrior one. Straightening the right leg, bringing the stomach over the thigh and lowering the hands. Bending the right leg, lifting the left arm up, looking towards the left hand. Straightening the leg, bringing the right hand to the inside of the right foot, triangle pose. And now we're bringing ourselves over to the long side of the mat. Feet parallel with one another, hands between the feet. Inhaling, you're looking straight ahead, and exhaling, bending the elbows, bringing the head down. If you can't reach the mat, don't worry, keep the hands at the waist. Inhaling, looking straight ahead, walking the hands back to the front of the mat. We're taking a good bend in that right knee, and we're trying to bring our right shoulder under the knee, under the inside of the knee. And then from here, we're coming into a lift. Don't worry if you haven't got this yet. So we're trying to lift both legs off the mat by balancing the shoulder on the inside of the knee. Coming into chaturanga now, inhaling upward facing dog, exhaling downward facing dog. Now we're coming to the other side, so the left leg comes forward, inhaling into warrior one. Straightening that leg, bringing the stomach onto the thigh, hands come down. Bending the knee. Now we're lifting the right hand up. Straightening the leg, coming into triangle pose, so the left hand comes to the inside of the left foot. Coming over to the long side of the mat, hands between the feet. Inhaling, looking straight ahead. Exhaling, bringing that head down. Breathing here. Inhale, look straight ahead. Bring ourselves back to the front of the mat, bending into that left leg and trying to fit the left shoulder under the inside of the left knee. And then from here, we're straightening both legs, bringing the body weight forward and trying to go for a balance. Don't worry, this is a little bit more advanced, so if you haven't got it yet, it's not a problem. Coming into a chaturanga, inhaling upward facing dog, exhaling downward facing dog. And we're going through all this quite fast. Inhaling, lifting the heels, stepping or jumping to the front of the mat. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, chair pose. Exhaling to standing. And that is the end of our vinyasa flow sequence. So now we're jumping the feet apart to hip width distance. We're taking hold of the big toes. Inhaling, looking straight ahead. Exhaling, folding forward. So the idea of this is that you want to bring your body weight forward. You want to bring the stomach onto the thighs. And what we don't want to be doing is bringing that curve from the upper back. It wants to come from the lower back. Inhaling, looking straight ahead. And now we're going to bring the hands under the feet. So don't worry if you need to bend the knees. We want the toes on the wrists. And we're just relaxing the head and the neck, folding forward here. Inhaling, looking straight ahead. We're stepping back to plank, chaturanga. Inhaling upward facing dog, exhaling downward facing dog, and then we're just going to lower our knees down, and we're coming into child's pose, so the arms are either side of the legs, forehead on the mat, letting the breath return to its natural rhythm. Inhaling, lifting the head and the chest, and from here we're straightening out the legs. Want to bring our sit bones down onto the mat, the hands either side of the hips, the back straight, legs engaged, toes flexed. Bringing the hands behind the lower back. Exhaling, we're lifting the hips with the legs together, trying to bring the soles of the feet down onto the mat, allowing the head to relax back. Coming back down, crossing the legs, stepping to plank, chaturanga, inhaling upward dog, exhaling downward dog. So this is another vinyasa. And then we're going to bring our body weight forward and we're coming back to sitting on the mat. This time we're straightening the left leg and we're bringing the right foot onto the thigh. Inhaling, we're taking hold of that left leg, looking straight ahead, and exhaling, folding forward. Don't worry if you can't reach your foot yet or you need to bend the knee, it's not a problem. Just breathing here. Inhaling, looking straight ahead. Exhaling here. Now for the other side, we're straightening the right leg, bringing the left foot onto the right thigh. Inhaling, looking straight ahead. Exhaling, folding forward over that right leg. Want our hips to remain straight. We don't want to be falling over to one side. Again, we want the fold to be coming from the lower back and the waist. So we don't want to be too hunched over in the upper back. Inhaling, looking straight ahead, crossing the legs, stepping to plank, chaturanga, inhaling upward dog, exhaling downward dog. Now we're going to come into another slightly more intermediate posture, so don't worry if you haven't quite got it yet. Inhaling, we're lifting our heels off the mat, and we're just trying to jump the feet in front of the hands. Don't worry if you don't quite reach, you can walk the feet forward. From here, we want to bring the hands down onto the mat, and we're bending into our elbows. The elbows are parallel with one another. And then we're trying to draw our elbows and the tops of the legs together. And we're just coming into a balance. This is Bhuja Padasana. And then I've just straightened my legs out to the side and come all the way down onto the mat again, just taking a wide leg stretch before we come all the way to lying down for our finishing postures. We're just going to lie on our backs with our knees bent, and we're going to move those knees from side to side very slowly, just giving the lower back a massage. Coming to center, we're bringing the heels in close to the bum, the palms down on the mat, the knees parallel with one another, and we're just going to lift the hips, taking half bridge pose. The body weight should be over the shoulders. And then from here, if you've got enough lift, you can bring the hands onto the lower back with the elbows bent. And now I'm just lifting my right leg, straightening it up. Then bringing it back down, lifting the left leg, pointing the toe, taking it down. And now I'm going to come from here all the way into shoulder stance. You're going to lift the legs off the mat, supporting the back, then changing the grip on the back. So now the fingers are facing up towards the ceiling. The legs are engaged. Body weight over the shoulders. And then we're moving into plow. So we're taking the toes down behind us. Don't worry if you can't reach the floor yet. But if you can reach the floor, I want you to bind your hands behind your back. And we're trying to bring the tops of the feet down onto the floor as well. And then from here, bending the knees, bringing the knees round beside the ears. This one looks kind of funny, making yourself into a ball. Bring the legs up, and now we're going to either cross the legs or bring them into half lotus or full lotus. Don't worry if you need to use your hands, I do. So I'm in full lotus here, and I'm just balancing on my shoulders and taking hold of the knees. This is a bit of a funny one to get right, but once you've got that balance right, it becomes much easier. and then hugging the legs in towards the body. Lowering palms of the hands onto the mat and releasing yourself back onto the mat with control. And we're going to come into another version of fish pose. Keeping the legs crossed or in lotus, we're going to hollow out the chest and we're going to bring the crown of the head down onto the mat. Then from here we're going to try and take hold of the big toes or just touching the toes. Straightening out the legs, lifting them off the mat. We're bringing the palms together, keeping the chest hollowed. Bringing the chin to the chest, slowly lowering yourself down, hugging in the knees. Coming over onto one side, and we're going to come into child's pose and we're going to give headstand a try. If you've never done headstand before, I recommend that you move your mat next to a wall so that it catches you if you have any problems. So we're going to start in child's pose. From here, I want you to bring your elbows forward, measuring the distance between the elbows with the hands, and then taking the hands forward and interlacing the fingers. Walking the toes in towards the body, then bringing the knees into the chest, balancing here and then lifting your legs all the way up into headstand. Breathing here, keeping the stomach muscles engaged. Strong shoulders. Then from here, we're bringing the bum back just a little bit, keeping those stomach muscles engaged. We're going to try and lower the legs down to 90 degrees and hold it here. Holding it here for a couple of breaths, and then bringing your feet down onto the mat and taking a quick rest in child's pose. From here, we're coming over to a seated position. We're just going to take a quick twist on both sides, looking behind you. And then we're taking hold of the elbows behind the back, taking a breath here, and bringing the forehead down towards the ground. Coming all the way back up. We're coming into Savasana now, so I'd like you to lie down on the mat, your feet open to the distance of the mat, your arms by your sides with palms facing up, breath returning to its natural rhythm, and just allow everything to relax. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again soon.